All right, let's understand what the teams think is strong. Now, there is a lot of stuff that was largely unchanged in the patch. Gallia, still really good. His item build, his core items, at least the Rod of Ages and the Abyssal Mask, the same. Other things situationally changed. Corki is seen a lot still because his build literally didn't change. And look at the bans here. One of the champions who I think got indirectly buffed and was already strong was Taliyah. And Taliyah first round ban, so BDD doesn't get to jump on his currently 4-0 Taliyah. And I know you, Valdez, as our resident Taliyah expert, is extra sad about that.
Yeah, I'm kind of sad, but it makes a lot of sense, right? She's incredibly strong, right? And BDD, undefeated, looks like one of the best Taliyahs in Korea, if not the best. So it makes sense. They also take the Kha'Zix away from Peanut. They don't want to have him all up in their jungle on top of Blossom, give Blossom a little bit more space with that ban.
Blossom's champion here will be very closely scrutinized. 2 days ago, his Jax performance rightly was criticized. People said, why not the Zac? And they went with the Zac in the last game. He prefers, or at least innately is, this aggressive Kha'Zix Rengar player, but the team has needed him to be on safer engage, and that will be heavily prized. The Jarvan, of course, his Ultra Comfort. We'll see if SKT reaches for that in the first round. Xayah taken away. The Tristana taken away. Varus will be first picked, so a lot of impact on the bot lane. Prey can still just jump onto the Ezreal and take the, at least losing pressure lane. But very interesting to see SKT first pick the Varus, and we're learning about the patch, we're learning about the priorities. It was all about bot lane. In the previous meta, so far at least, it's similar as, I'm sure some people will be disappointed that Khan, on red side no less, had the possibility to last pick for top lane and just goes for an early Sion, unless Gorilla's been having some fun with the support Sion in solo queue.
That's what I was thinking, that very outside chance where perhaps they want to fool SKT in the first round, but pretty doubtful at this point, probably around 5%. Faker's going to jump right back on his rise, still very strong on this patch. Yeah, it's really good, right? The tier item, pretty good, Papa.
Just so much mana. It's such an amount of mana. If you have mana scaling and your core item is buffed, you're a stronger champion. Cassio and Ryze are both rising in power pretty severely, and this can be an SKT comfort draft. I think Jarvan makes sense. It is Blossom's champion, which he's been the most reliable on. So first round for SKT, super powerful, whether it was 8.3 or 8.4. We'll see how King Zone want to round out the first round draft here. Double mid lane ban almost certainly if they don't reach for a mid laner now. See how BDD's feeling.
But they're going to go for the Kog'Maw. It got heavily nerfed, I think, on 8.2 or 8.3, but then they scaled it back a little bit. They brought his damage back a little bit here. The question is it going to be definitely for Prey, or is there that outside chance? We talked about this on Cast Papa. Is there a chance of AP Kog'Maw here?
Yeah, I did tell the story of speaking to BDD and saying, hey, AP Kog'Maw with the new Archangel stuff and Presence of Mind, I should say, is very powerful. I think it will be AD carry. I think it will just be a safe pick for Prey in the bot lane. I don't think Juggernaut is coming out, but of course,
he's laughing in the booth,
they were the team.
though,
I think he knows I'm speaking about it because I literally had that conversation with him in the makeup room, but I don't know if I'm going to influence the meta that quickly.
Hey, you never know, right? Let's keep it on the board here, at least for now. Speaking about the bans, a couple more support bans taken off here against Wolf, and of course those mid lane bans you were talking about, Cassiopeia. The counter to Ryze also getting strong, taken away. And SKT reading into this going to ban a third support, perhaps thinking that King Zone would pick it here with their first pick after the second ban phase.
Yeah, Taric is conspicuously available, but will actually find it hard to really be powerful. And Taric Cog is a pretty weak 2v2 lane. Now this would be some power in the 2v2. They're going to lock in Thresh. Gorilla returning to an old favorite of his, a range support, to add a bit more pressure. And SKT, now they do have a Taric draft, and I think they will go Taric for just a bit more of team fight guarantee. So now we know it's certainly... Okay, there is still a chance. Sion mid lane has been played in competitive play in some regions, so
oh boy,
we're not 100% clear. I wanted to say definitely top lane Sion, but let's see how much King Zone want to play with the hearts and minds, because Chondo is locked in. It's been Ontara's pick into Sion, largely has been successful. Will King Zone, how many fast ones will King Zone pull?
There are at least a couple of them, right? Is it going to be that AP Cog mid? Is it going to be the Sion mid? What's it going to be? Looks like it's just going to be normal if they lock this one in.
Let's wait and see. This is looking like a Sion mid lane.
Yeah.
And it will be Sion mid lane. Okay, so Sion mid is going to come out. It's been played in Korea a bit. It is the biggest blocker of interactions you can ever have. It's super, super safe as well. Very interesting. It could also be the Jace mid, which is a good pick into Rise as well in the early game. My instinct is it's going to be Sion, though. He can roar away the bannered up minions, the Baron minions. Let's wait and see. But Sion mid, to me, is the most likely.
Well, we saw BDD laughing about something, and it seems like this is what he found so amusing. They also get that last pick for the Khan. You were saying that's a possibility.
20 seconds.
It's going to be Khan up against Untara in the top lane. Most likely, Jace versus Trundle. Let's wait.
It was such an early Sion by King Zone that we thought, what about support? Of course, facetiously, we wondered, would it be the time for AP Cog in the mid lane? That doesn't happen, but Sion mid lane, Rise is not going to have a lot of fun trying to push through the Sion damage. The bone plating might come in for even more reduction of damage. Bone plating, our new resident thing to complain about after all the changes. You look on the side of SKT, very strong 1-3-1, but not as strong as previously thought, because suddenly Untara's assignment got way harder. Trundle against a tank. We all know how that goes. Trundle against a Jace. Much different assignment.
I was looking at his face once they put him on. He looks very uncomfortable, Papa. I don't know if he's going to have a fun time here. We've already seen him have trouble. It was part of the reason why Tal came into the lineup in the first place, is Untara struggling up top against all these different picks. So tonight might be a bad night for him, and we might even see some substitutes. But let's not call it early. Let's see what happens.
It's so much control, and then prey on the Cogmore to be the artillery. A hype comp, it's new stuff, it's 8.4.
Let's do it, guys. We're going to start game number 1, SKT versus King Zone DragonX on the Rift right now. Here we go. Never thought I'd see BDD on Sion mid. Definitely a guy who likes to control with mages in the mid lane, but it's a new patch, it's a new day, Papa.
And you know what the fun thing is? If you compare Sion mid to a champion that's been in the meta recently, Galio would be the closest proximity. His global is not as reliable, of course, but he has the ability to drift through river very, very quickly and get to a side lane. Announces it early, but it is a very safe pick. You'll notice he goes Comet for lane control as well. He could go early Banner of Command, which is the big item here. There could be 3 Banners of Command on the side of King Zone, that's for sure.
Banner, banner, banner. No doubt. We were talking in the makeup room a little bit with Gorilla. Or you were talking to him, and you were like, well, how many Banner of Commands are we going to see in this game exactly?
And he said 3, but he didn't specify whether it was his team or in the entire game. Jace won't be building one, that's a spoiler. Now let's talk about other things though, because one thing to discuss here is Untara will get no fun at all in the lane, is that there's not as many minion dematerialize in this game as NA and EU might have led you to believe. We had Trundle top lane in NA and EU pick up the minion dematerialize to help out with the late game. When Jace is in the game, King Zone are not thinking about post 40 minutes. They're thinking about much earlier, so there will be less minion dematerialize. That might evolve. Of course, it depends how this week plays out. But we don't see as many of those to answer the super buffed up, the hot fixed minions with the Baron buff, and then the Banner of Command to add that extra oomph. And you talked about the top lane. Let's cover that as well. Khan against Untara. That was probably the reason that Untara didn't go to Worlds, because he showed he could not handle top lane carries like Khan. And that's why they preferred Huni. It gave them more options in the top. These were the sort of matchups where Untara struggled the most, and now he's been heavily counterpicked as well. So unless he gets help out of Blossom, it's going to be hell to pay.
Peanut's already up here on the top side. Thankfully, though, Blossom has been able to take that Rift Scuttler here. So they spot each other, and Peanut just going to see Blossom as well, which gives Khan a little bit more safety. Another small change that we do have on the Rift, by the way, is the Blast Cones were taken away from those outer sides. So the Jarvan can't just jump over the wall and then flag and drag on top of the Jace. It actually makes Khan even more comfortable in the top lane.
So it's jungler around top side, and as you mentioned, relative safety compared to patch 8.3 helps Jace in a winning matchup. Looking at history, it's all about the LCK Summer Final that I think should have been the thing to most talk about there, and it was King Zone breaking SKT's undefeated streak in Korean finals and going with a 3-1 victory. Bot lane, we see the return of Kog'Maw. You mentioned the patch change. Basically, what we found was that after his first nerf, he lost about 30% of his theoretical damage output. Now it's 15% because he was rebuffed by 1% of max HP damage. So much more usable now. Still going to be Rage Blade most likely. Still the early core. Very powerful on one item. Also has gone Unsealed Spellbook to opt into the cleanse as the game goes on.
Yeah, certainly is going to be interesting to see what he can do. We talked a little bit about Varus, or rather about Kog'Maw changes. Varus hasn't been changed at all. Didn't really see any changes on the Rift in terms of his own patch notes.
You're looking at the Dross and their identities, and you're looking at the Sion mid and saying, what's going on here? Another beefy frontliner for the Kog'Maw to do damage. King Zone will largely not be grouped as 5. They will group as 5 more than other Jace comps because they have such a robust frontline, with Sejuani and Sion ignoring damage and then Thresh fishing for a hook, that they can potentially take turrets down very fast with the Kog'Maw and Jace, but still largely going to be 4-1 with how strong Jace is against Trundle in a side lane. SKT thought they would go for the flexible dream in this patch. So this comp on patch 8.1 through 8.3 and before Sion mid has become a thing would be insanely powerful because Trundle doesn't really have an identity. It's almost better that he groups for Pillar than trying to split against the Jace. They have less options than they would like, and that's the power of being on red side, which for me, ever since the last couple of changes, has been the preferential side to be on compared to blue side at the start of the season.
So far, we've seen Untara versus Khan a lot up in the top lane, but this is going to be the first time that Peanut does make his way up here. By the way, guys, another change from 8.4, if you haven't been looking at the patch notes, is no more Tracker's Knife. And you're going to have blue smites coming in now and red smites, right? So lots of differences in what the different junglers can take in terms of their smites. You'll notice that Peanut has taken blue, the Chillin' Smite. And now they're actually going to engage onto Blossom here, who does get away. Peanut has done a very good job of mirroring him so far on the Rift.
And BD's done a very good job of buying Magic Resist as his first item and saying, hey guys, I got a Negatron Cloak. That's pretty cool what you're doing over there, Rise, but not going to take any damage. You're right, the vision game here is going to be very, very different. The no Tracker's Knife meta means that certainly we might see new items. I think Remnant the Watchers on a Malzahar, for example, are going to stay staple on 8.4 at least before the quests are changed in order to get that extra vision. We still were unsure what that would mean in terms of jungling. Would Korean junglers be more safe because of the lack of vision? The controlled aggression from Season 3 Worlds onwards was all about vision control, making aggressive plays possible through the extra information. But now that the vision is lower, we're also going to see less sweepers because you need to hold on to the warding trinket just to get down any relevant vision.
So far, we've seen BDD having a very fun lane in mid, and Khan having a very fun lane up in the top side. No doubt Untara has taken the bone plating. He's gone for Doran's shield. He's trying to just survive as much as possible. But we're already here at 7 minutes into the game, and he's nearly down 20 CS. He's going to pick up the rest of that CS in the top side. But this is kind of what this matchup does, and Khan does it best, as we have learned. It's very hard to mimic this kind of play in the top lane from Khan.
Honestly, it's a huge counter pick. He's melee-only bruiser against a ranged champion who only goes in melee range to kill you. But Faker looking for an early roam. We mentioned the lesser vision. There's only one ward in the river, but it's going to be cleared. At least the vision's been cleared.
Well, here we go. Realm Warp coming in. The pillar will be flashed, and so they get the flash out of Khan here in the trade for Faker's ultimate.
It will also cost him a minion wave in mid, and we know that Faker never wants to give up a CS advantage, but that what it gives him, Valdez, like you mentioned, the flash advantage, means that Jace will have to be safer with his ability to play in lane. He won't be able to overextend as hard. BDD, considering a drift bot lane, just going to pull out.
Definitely have an opportunity, especially before Taric is level 6, because if you get that Cosmic Radiance down in time, you mitigate so much of the damage as the Scion comes in. Was thinking about it, decides against it. Perhaps they didn't have enough vision on where Blossom was, so they say, hey, we'll just go back to lane and continue farming.
One item, King Zone, will be very, very powerful. Often these Kog'Maw comps need to hit 2 or 3 items, but I think at one item, with how insanely tanky the front line is, Rageblade Kog'Maw will be able to free auto because access to the back line kind of Jarvan only. It's going to be very, very difficult. SKT would love to play like they did in their last series against Junior, where they would just Realm Warp onto Orianna and take her out. But there's so much PLCC and also the Lantern to disengage any all-in attempts that this is Kog'Maw set up for success in a way that we haven't seen since the good old Juggernaut days.
So this rotation was seen, actually. Peanut coming down here. They didn't see... well, they saw BDD, they didn't see Peanut. So immediately, Wolf and Bang are going to back off and give a bunch of room off the turret. Will they continue to go on this, or will King Zone just push onto the turret? It's still very healthy this early on.
And just, for now, giving up free control. They know that Ryze's teleport is down. His Realm Warp is even on cooldown. It's largely only going to be a denial of experience. Hook onto Tarek, but he's level 6. The turret dive here, very difficult to perform.
Good communication there from SKT, just making sure no one's going to go down. And so another quote-unquote failed gank. They do get that damage down. But Ntara actually up on the top side trying to challenge Khan. Not sure if that's a good idea. Does have his Tabby ready. There's a Tabby, but still having a rough time here.
Tabby, bone plating, certainly going to both be there. The build will probably still include a Tiamat. When I saw Cloth Armor and the Rejuvenation beat, I wondered, are we just rushing Banner of Command and giving up? But you need to have Tiamat for lane control.
Yeah.
So far, we're looking at CS. Small CS lead to the side of King Zone. BDD, predictably, is going to be down a little bit. He hasn't been able to actually extend a CS lead. Looking for Comet Harass and pushing in the Ryze has meant that he's missed a bit of CS in every lane. In every, minion wave. And then if you look at the Resolve tree, basically if you see Resolve second, you can best believe it's going to be Bone Plating and second win. That is the new OP duo of Resolve runes that you take.
We were talking about this before we actually went live even. It's maybe in the future we're even going to see
80 carries.
Mid laners, 80 carries taking it just because it's so strong. Here we go. They're actually going to engage here. That charge, both of them missing, and Faker just standing in the face of Peanut and BDD in the mid lane saying, ha, nice job, guys.
And that gank was largely to get at least a flash out of Faker. He gives up neither with his ability to abstain and his ability to endure pressure. That means so much for the side lanes. It means so much for Ntara, knowing there's no threat of a turret dive. And SKT, they know that there's no mana on Peanut. They start up the Drake.
Easiest Drake of their lives going to come in here, even if they were under vision. It doesn't really matter. So the Ocean Drake very early on, definitely going to help out Ntara in the top lane especially.
Varus also can be mana hungry in his usual trade pattern of using his E pretty liberally. So definitely is a nice little lead there. Nice little Drake spawn for SKT. Potential of a lane gank from Sejuani, but no flash.
They're going to jump here onto Bang. Cosmic Radiance coming down, but Bang at about half health. But again, that's a pretty good ultimate at this point in the game, so they're not going to go for it just yet.
But remember, SKT's laners can push up past halfway through, even without vision of Peanut, because they know his ult is down. This is what Faker was able to provide this team. There would have been a threat of a defensive flash for Bang & Wolf if they even saw the Arctic Assault come out of Sejuani. But with the ultimate on cooldown, they can step up. They don't use their summoners, and so far the failed gank has cost King Zone in multiple ways.
I love how every minute or so also are coming up to the top lane and just checking in, right? And so far, the 20 CS lead hasn't really extended too far. Ntara looking a lot tankier up against that Jace and having a pretty decent job of that lane. As you guys will notice, we have the new artwork on the Drakes. The Ocean Drake definitely looking different from the norm.
I'm not passing judgment just yet, but change is not always good.
Gorilla coming in. This is 3-on-1. Finally, they get that flash out of Faker. He says, all right, you got me this time. They also get the TP out of Wolf, interestingly enough, into the mid lane.
They clearly want to increase the pace of the game, and like you mentioned, these three rotate through mid lane. If any of the ult cooldowns of either BDD or Peanut are off cooldown, you also have the death sentence to start things. Speaking of death sentence.
Oh, Wolf in a lot of trouble here. Doesn't have the help of his teammate. First blood goes down as Prey gonna pick that up. Nice chunk of gold to the bottom laner.
Ideal person to pick it up, remember, because we have a mid lane Scion. We expect him to rotate first. He's gone for the Abyssal Mask first. That buffs up Prey's damage as well. Gonna be largely unkillable in the early game, and Rageblade already complete on both of the 80 carries. All Blossom can do is on the other side of the map try to take an objective, because first turret going to King Zone DragonX.
We saw the stats before the game started. King Zone is one of the best teams at creating a gold difference early on. They love to get aggressive and increase the pace of the game, as you said. They're doing just that. They get the first blood, they get the first blood turret. Now they're going for another engage here on a Faker. He doesn't have his flash anymore. They're trying to drag him out, and they do get him out of his realm morph. That's going to be another kill onto the mid laner of SKT. King Zone looking to win this one very early.
And the timing there is why they showed so much aggression, why they were willing to flash. They just took bot lane turret. That unlocks the Thresh to roam. They're taking a second turret, and SKT are a step behind the play.
I just love how Gorilla pulls him out. He's like, nah, you're not getting away from us this time around. They tried 3 times, and finally they pick up Faker in the mid lane.
Khan rotates down. We're going to see the replay. You can already see on the minimap, everyone's coming, and Varus' first thought is to pick up the minion wave. No ability for Faker to get out. Takes the death sentence. Khan able to pick up the kill, which is even better for him. Taking the bot lane, the bot lane turret first for King Zone opens up so many options, because now Kog'Maw, once these turrets go down, a theoretical lane assignment is that Kog'Maw goes mid in a very short lane with a high health mid lane outer turret, while Thresh roams around the map looking for picks. The Kog'Maw in a short lane will be so safe with the cleanse if there's any sort of flash engages by Faker, and that allows King Zone to get the most out of their Kog'Maw as well. So many options as SKT looking to be a step ahead and pile onto the top lane, but you can see Sejuani on the way.
Sejuani is on the way, will be 4v3 for now, and we also have Faker making his way up here. Peanut gonna show himself on the ward. They really want to get this down here. See the demolition proc even gonna come in, probably from Wolf. Not sure if Untara would take that up against Jace, but either way, they finally do get the turret. SKT looking to fight back a bit.
If you guys are wondering at home about power spikes for King Zone, again, I mentioned how they can fight with Rageblade early and how they were going to likely win team fights pretty early in this game. Even though it's Kog'Maw, the word hypercarry is not what I would use to describe this comp. This is not Juggernaut, hit a certain amount of items on Kog'Maw. This is just an aggressive mid-game comp. They need to fight, they need to push the advantage. That's why breaking the first turret and rotating was their game plan, and so far, they've succeeded.
Khan making his way up from the bottom lane, already getting very deep in the jungle. Missed his shock blasts, though, so they don't try to all in onto Blossom, and he saves his flash after all. Look at the amount of roaming Gorilla's doing as well, just moving in with Peanut, getting that deep vision already in the top side.
One of the people to benefit from there being less vision on the map is someone like Jace. If you take a lane-dominant champion, there's less wards that you have to respect in the jungle that you cut through when you try to poke. A minion wave dies and you go straight to mid lane as bang, a little bit too slow on the ultimate there. Basically what I'm saying is that Jace can push in bot, then rotate to the mid lane. There's going to be less Chakras Knives wards to catch him as he rotates between lanes. Rotational play with lane dominance got stronger with there being less vision in the game. That's why King Zone returned to the Jace that they're oh so good at.
I'm looking at the map right now. I see 2 blue wards. Actually, there's 1 more in their own side, but so far the vision game is going heavily in favor of King Zone. They have multiple control wards inside the jungles of SKT. Khan coming up, taking a cheeky blue buff away, saying, hey, the Scion doesn't really need that. I'd like that a lot more up against Trundle.
Rift Herald about to despawn, as Jarvan has not found a spot for it. We'll have to use it soon. Notice that Faker, who was famously on first back changing to sweeper basically every time in the last year, SKT always used to have a low vision amount of wards placed on the map because they would switch to sweepers so early. Now you're seeing them hold on to the warding trinkets because you can't afford to with a lesser vision available.
Blossom finally forced to let go of that Rift Herald here. Poor Harold's going to get in there. We're going to have a hook onto Untara. Not much going to come out here, but just 1 charge in SKT. They know they're behind at this point. They don't want to get too frisky with this one. They just back away.
It's very difficult for them to win a straight-up 5v5 because of how powerful the front line of King Zone are. Already largely unkillable. Yoma's Ghost Blade Rush from the Jace just to be able to sidestep, just to be able to rotate between minion waves. As we mentioned, it is Bramble Vest into Tiamat, so at least Untara's not taking a lot of relevant damage. But remember that the play pattern of Trundle is the exact role reversal in this game. Usually it's Trundle under enemy turrets, poking with a couple of autos and disengaging. This time Trundle's the one who's playing like a true tank on the defensive side. And that's what the counter pick means, is that they're not getting any value out of Trundle in the side lane. It has to be the pillar of all pillars, otherwise it's a waste of a pick.
Bang so far, not impressing me in this game. Even using the heal to get Wolf out of dodge there. Just the duo not looking good up against Praying Gorilla.
I mean, he's down at wit's end. He only has a recurve bow. There's a huge item discrepancy. They have no control of the map because
oh boy,
wards have been cleared so many times.
Look at SKT damage overall. Oh boy,
yeah.
Not good. Not very good.
It's what a great draft does to you. It warps the game. This game has gone completely away from what Koma intended. The moment that the Scion was put mid lane, everything about the comp no longer applies because Trundle can't do anything in the side lane. And from there, they could never rotate mid. As Scion's never going to leave the lane. He's going to push it. He may have missed out on some CS, but he's unkillable in both the mid lane and in the side lane. And King Zone have been ahead of the play. They've made the plays, and SKT are just hoping and waiting for a late game where they can actually use their team comp. I don't know how many late games there are on patch 8.4 because Banner of Command is coming next from BDD, and the Baron buff is going to be turned on before too long.
Definitely so. I feel like they still have Faker in their back pocket. He does have the highest farm in the game. He's on that rise that feels good about the new items on 8.4. If he can become kind of his own kind of fountain laser in this game with the help of his team, perhaps then SKT has got a chance. They just got to hold on here and try not to get bulldozed by King Zone, which is basically the standard for this King Zone team. They go up against anyone in LCK and they just bulldoze them. I
mean, your patch 8.3 analysis of this game is, don't worry, SKT, just wait it out. You got good wave clear, so the first Baron, second Baron won't be enough. Baron is stronger. The Elder Dragon, the second spawn especially, is just trading up, winning the game in almost every scenario. Stalling got much harder in this meta, and also SKT have been best as an aggressive team with Blossom in the lineup. So SKT, the last time they played King Zone the first round, it was 2-0 King Zone. It was a different SKT with Blank and Tal in the lineup. Since then they became aggressive. Their aggression was stalled because of the smart draft from King Zone, and scaling got nerfed. So in both ways, they pretty much got screwed, Valdez.
That they did. We'll see if they know how to come back from behind on this patch, as we're only 21 minutes into the game, but already it feels like King Zone is accelerating it quite fast. Banner of Command, by the way, guys, is finished up on the Scion. I know you guys are super hype about that. We already got one on the Rift.
Good news. Faker has held on to all his stacks of the minion dematerializer. The Scion mid lane in the game was basically a confirmation it would be second item Banner, so he hasn't used any on the minion wave. He still has a CS advantage. They do have the ability to repel a bannered up cannon minion if Ryze can actually close the distance onto that minion, and if Ryze is in that lane. So that is still one answer available. But Gorilla, you know, he's probably going for a second Banner of Command, not the Aegis into the Locket that we've come to expect. So then things get much trickier for SKT.
Yeah, you mentioned no minion dematerializer on the Trundle. Had to go with other stuff just to survive. We'll see if King Zone just won this from the draft or not, as it certainly feels that way, in a way, with Khan coming up with a surprise Jace last pick.
Waiting for the neutral play. We're waiting for the play around objectives. Do notice that this is a Jace comp where Jace can be in a side lane, and you best believe that Scion will be the one tanking up the Baron. Sejuani will be full health for a turn. When Warmox comes in, regardless, they can ignore Baron damage hugely. No mid laner can ignore damage better than Scion mid, and that allows them to have so much Baron threat. Every time they go missing, it's going to be SKT having to face check, and they've got huge initiation potential as a four-man group as well. We can already see the camp.
Yeah, there is that Rift Scuttler taken. I think they're going on to this right now. Yeah, they're going to start it already. You mentioned a couple of tanks in the front line, and you got the Kog'Maw working on it, but they decide against it as they see SKT coming in. They want to bait this, and Blossom, he bites the bait right into the team, is going to get taken out, immediately taking out the jungler. Fantastic for King Zone.
Someone had to check. That's how it happens. They knew it was likely to be started. King Zone read how fast they were taking it, pulled away, and they're looking for a second turn.
feel like they're almost playing with their food at this point. They're gonna hook Untara, and I'll see you later. Before that comes down, they trade onto Gorilla, and Faker is doing significant damage, but it's 3-on-4 at this point. Khan looking to get a triple kill of his own. Flashes away from SKT. Wolf looking to go down here. Faker trying to go 1v4 now. Very not looking good for him, but at least he does get away in the end. And so King Zone continue on with their dominance in this game.
It's just such a beautiful draft. They have every option available. Jace grouping allows Sion to get in position to hit the first CC, and then Kog'Maw will do the rest. They can play 1-3-1, they can play 4-1, they can group and siege. Beautiful construction by King Zone, and SKT, from the time the first 2 turrets went down, would have felt this same lingering dread that Untara did when his team said, hey, could you please check the Baron? They had to know this would happen.
Yeah, it was Untara's turn next. The next one off the lifeboat, and down he did go. At least no Baron just yet. As you mentioned, those objectives are a lot stronger on this patch. It's going to be even scarier once King Zone gets their hands on one of those. They pick up the Infernal. We'll see what happens in the future with the different Drakes, as there's another Infernal on the way, and if they get their hands on some Elders, if it even goes that long, you got to imagine the Jace Kog'Maw is going to be feeling pretty good about that.
And the Kog'Maw build reflects what we were mentioning, how he will have to, of course, carry the burden of damage. Because he's so safe, he doesn't need to go Phantom Dancer or Rapid Fire Cannon to poke. He's going Hurricane. He's going, I am standing DPS. I've got all the tanks in the world to peel for me, and a Lantern to reset my positioning to the high damage AoE build coming through from Prey. He's feeling no threat with the Cleanse Flash available. And King Zone keep rolling on, and in the side lane, in the grouping, in every scenario until it reads 40 minutes. SKT has no options in a 5v5.
It's just that feeling of trying to stop the bleeding until later, until perhaps your Rise Varus combination and maybe even Trundle later on can try to do some damage overall. We'll see how they try to get onto the Kog'Maw. You were mentioning all of the escape paths that he does have in this composition and all the help he has. We'll just have to wait and see. And now Blossom, he already used his flag, but he's going to get that up. They get on top of Bang here. The Cosmic Radiance will come just barely in time. But again, just trying not to die here is SKT. Untara in the backline. Peanut actually getting low here. They almost get him in a huge Cataclysm from Blossom, but it's not enough as he just disappears. This is turning into the Faker show as people want him to carry. He's getting pretty close already.
King Zone there made the mistake of over-investing when turret was grouped. The ult meant that no first pick could happen, and then they were exposed. They weren't fighting in the formation they intended to and drafted to in this comp. It goes 1-for-1. King Zone know the playbook is get a single pick, then take Baron. They don't have the Baron speed to try to rush it. They couldn't fully disengage. And you notice that Prey can't actually move up and use his Hurricane on multiple members because Untara gets into the backline. How can you ever get into the backline against King Zone in a normal fight? You can't. When they're this far under the inner turret, you can. So they're not able to get them at full value. And a couple of mistakes like that, and that sliver of hope for SKT will return.
Definitely true. You'll notice that Faker still has 6 stacks of his minion dematerializer, so even a second banner of commands might not be affecting his team so much.
And if you're at home judging the strength of the Rise, remember that it's the same item build, but it's stronger on this patch. The extra mana on the Archangels means more ability power and just ability damage with the mana scaling that Rise has. So Rise is more powerful than you can even really appreciate at this point in the game. That means that King Zone really need to ensure that their next teamfight setup doesn't fall into the traps they just showed around 26 minutes.
I mean, we're already seeing it in a couple of fights. 2 Qs that just barely missed would have meant 2 extra kills for Faker in that fight, and then maybe even SKT come out on top. They're not too far behind. It's only about 3,000 gold. What I'm really worried about is, you know, as you were saying, 1 pick into a Baron or 1 pick into an Elder or a second Infernal. It's going to be rough if they can't deny that from King Zone.
What does King Zone do to move forward their gameplay if it's not just rush into a team fight? Remember that Trundle can't side lane. Is there enough damage here? Probably not.
maybe they bait King Zone in, but actually Khan coming from the top side. They want to get Blossom down, and just before the Cosmic Radiance, and a failed flash here from Wolf. Looks like he's going to be going down as well. Couple of kills go over to Kog'Maw, and Blossom in a wonky spot there, just getting caught up.
Yeah, King Zone don't even have to play the side lanes. They were set up to because Trundle can't side lane in this game. If you get the picks, then you can skip over that step. Bit of easy extra gold comes in for King Zone. Also the Baron, Untara would love to interrupt, but King Zone will finish it off.
Yeah, they're trying to come on in here. Let's see what Faker can do. He's dodging everything, and BDD is going to go down. The exhaust comes down here on a Faker, but he wants to turn around somehow. Let's see if he can do just that. It looks like he's just going to give it up as the Baroness come in, and now King Zone's push will begin.
Yeah, BDD gave up his life just to stop Rise from getting into the Baron pit and stopping some act of God taking the Baron away. So he gave up his life to delay time to get the Baron buff. Only the first of the game. 28 minutes in, the Baron is received, and already the playstyle playing side lanes with Trundle struggling. The struggle streak's just going to be even more visited here for the side of SKT because Baron is finally achieved by King Zone at 28 minutes. Blossom walks up. He's the one who needs to face check. And even through the EQ, look at how much damage Prey is able to do. Actually able to close out the damage half a second before the Cosmic Radiance does arm, and then from there, Wolf out of position. The Baron registers. Faker is strong, no doubt, but how much of this game is going to be him running through a front line that isn't responding with Prey not turned onto him? All of Prey's damage is on the Baron. There was no threat onto the Rise, so he got a kill, but in a team fight, the Prey damage is going to be something he can't handle.
Yeah, and you're talking about, you know, the carries here for SKT. You might ask, where's Bang? Well, he's about an item and a half behind Prey right now, who's 4-0-4. So definitely not feeling like the farm is coming through for him. Finally picks up his own Hurricane. We'll see if that helps out with his damage. The Infernal comes in and Blossom pops the wall, looking for the steal here. Looks like King Zone is actually going to respect this for now. Prey stepping forward, and the three-man Cataclysm again. This is good with that Cosmic Radiance, and they're trying to come in here, but Jace from behind. Wolf getting low.
No threat on Prey.
They want to get onto BDD, but it's not enough. Prey is just doing free damage in the back, and now Faker finally goes down. It's going to be a full wipe. The ace comes through. The teleport coming in. King Zone looking to push this one in.
And the best thing is that they were the first team to play Scion mid when it was Rocks Tigers, then Coup Tigers in 2015. They roll it back. BDD this time on the Scion. It's still about the Kog'Maw, but a mid-game Kog'Maw comp where he can walk up after the few buffs. There was no threat on him, and that's why it didn't matter about anyone else. It was always going to be Kog'Maw taking it down.
And they're going for the victory, Papa. They got the Baron, they have the Banner of Command, and when you get a full ace here, it looks like it's going to be the end. Already clapping coming out of Prey. That's going to be a 31-minute victory here, unless Blossom can pull off a miracle. They're just playing with their food. That's going to do it. Not wanting to kill the Nexus. They're giving kills away just to BM SKT right now. 31 minutes, 15 seconds is the victory for King Zone.
What a beautiful draft from King Zone. We wondered, moving on to 8.4, this team was the best. 8.4 could represent a nerf to them. Based on game one, you certainly can't say that. The look of horror on Untara's face after the draft of the Scion mid let them know that he would just never have a role this game. Untara couldn't do anything. Trundle can side lane and then put down a pillar. He can't peel for Bang. There's nothing Bang can do in a fight to in any way echo what his opponent does. They build the same items, but Kog'Maw was set up for success. SKT was set up for failure after the draft. So this is definitely huge credits to the coaching staff of King Zone DragonX, and the execution good as well.
You mentioned it in the beginning, the question, right? Is King Zone going to be ready for this patch? Is SKT going to be ready for the patch? And it seems like overall King Zone have a much better understanding, especially on red side, of how to completely destroy your opponent, wipe the floor with them in the draft, and then make it look easy. Blossom, he looks devastated. He got caught a couple of times, but it really was just unfortunate situations that he found himself caught. Untara seems like he's seen the devil in there as he ran into Khan's Jace once again.
Gonna watch the replay. Again, compare 80 carries. Sure, Prey has more items, but the only damage he takes is from the EQ. The ultimate's onto the rest. They can't push through the front line. A stopwatch on BDD on his way to more tankiness. Prey hits everyone. Khan shows up in the back line. Goodbye, Bang. Nothing you can do.
Yeah.
And that's a King Zone victory. This is what the comp does in the mid game. This was the mid game, and this ended the game for King Zone before any late game damage questions could be asked.
Yeah. You may see Blossom in the booth and see some moments. I wouldn't put all the blame on him. It was really King Zone just outplaying their opponents. But either way, guys, we are going to take it to a short break to stop the action for just a bit. But when we come back, it continues here. Game number 2 of SKT versus King Zone DragonX.